Well, good afternoon, YouTube. The skies are building up. We're going to be having some monsoon flow here in just a little bit. You'll probably notice that my ride is a little bit quieter than usual. And that is because I'm on a different bike. Now, you guys have probably heard me talk about some of the other things in my garage. But this would be my wife's bike. And if you thought I looked like a bear on a tricycle before, well, you should see me on this thing. However, the bike is fairly capable. A little Honda CB Nighthawk. Not a bad bike. Extremely reliable. I've known some people who have had the Honda Rebel, which essentially is the same bike, only without the upright seating position. The seating position on this bike is much the same as the Enfield. This person here seems desperately lost. Oh, please. At any rate, the truth of the matter is, this bike harbors some capabilities that my little bike won't. For example, you can wind this thing up to about 11,000 RPM, it seems like. I would never, ever do that to my Enfield. At any rate, this bike shifts much better, has relatively the same gas mileage, and when it's wound up, it has relatively the same power output. Just, you know, perhaps void of the same character and style, perhaps. This beauty is all in the eye of the beholder. My wife likes this bike a lot. It's easy to ride, easy to manage, and I'm taking it out today though because she hasn't ridden it, and anybody that owns motorcycles knows that they need to be ridden in order to keep them in shape, keep the batteries charged up, keep the fluids moving about them, keep the tank, the gas from spoiling, turning into turpentine. I suppose I could always chunk a bottle of Seafoam in there for throwing a bottle of Seafoam into a Honda CB isn't nearly as fun as just breaking out and going for a ride. So as you can tell, the shifting is much easier on this bike. The shifting is extremely precise. It switches and you feel the click, you feel it report home, and man, it switches every single time. So I won't be motovlogging from the saddle of this bike very often. But I thought, you know, since I had everything still set up from motovlogging earlier, that I would go ahead and take advantage of the opportunity. So the bike isn't particularly my style, and that's alright because it's not my bike. However, I have told the wife, you know, if you don't start riding it, I might have to make it one of my bikes. The bare minimum, I would get rid of these goofy mirrors, but unless I'm sure she's never going to ride it again. Get rid of the goofy mirrors, put some bar ends on, maybe even drop the bars a bit, make it more drag. Oh heck, get one of those little Givey fly screens to put on here. Of course, I would dump the exhaust like nobody's business. Switch it from the single carb to the dual carb for the upright twin. Lower the stance a little bit, get a bench flat seat on there. Basically, I would cafe or brat this thing out, and it would just be a fun little bike to go out and ring out once in a while. But as it is, it's a decent bike to have on hand. If a project got to taking too long on my bike and I wanted to take one to work, don't even have to think about it. Just poke the key and this bike's gonna go. And we'll get 70 miles to the gallon to boot. You folks have seen my commute. It's not like I'm tackling anything big. So concerns about how little the bike is as far as getting up on the interstate, things like that go, really a non-issue. So yes, I'm taking this little bike up to the road I was telling you about prior. This is my little test route. You come up here, air it out just a little bit. Nothing too challenging. I can leave it in a lower gear and really get the feel for how it's decelerating or how its fuel consumption is working and how it's aspirating. So yep, not a bad little bike. It's actually a little bit lighter than the Enfield, so it's even easier to swing around and sit back up in some of these curves and things like that. Also stops a bit better. Low wind acceleration, not quite as strong as the Enfield, but considering it's got half the displacement, I'd say it does pretty good. It's also got 5 gears, which is, I'm always looking for that 5th gear on the Enfield. So anytime I ride this bike, I always have to adjust the preload much higher for me, as opposed to the preload for the wife. One thing that doesn't change is the forks. So with that being the case, the ride can be a little springy, you know, a little seesaw action going on every once in a while. I get some decent dips whenever I have to do hard braking. Other than that, it's not too bad. Actually pretty nice out today. I know the humidity's building up, the clouds are building up, so we can look forward to a rain shower here before long. So again, I just like to go out for a little test ride and make sure the bike is still performing and functioning as it should. Apparently the Speedo is reading about, I'd say about 4.5 miles per hour generous, according to indicated on that sign there. So my Speedo reads about just under 5 miles an hour faster than I'm actually going, so it's good to know. Oh, now see, that's a nice bike. How you doing there, buddy? This guy's ruining my whole jam. I actually like to whiz down this road at a fairly competent speed, but with the car in front of me, or truck in front of me, that kind of has me shaving some off a bit. Oh well, I don't need to be faster than I need to be. There's Anthony Cigar Emporium. You folks have heard me talk about it before. Great place to sit and smoke. Great place to buy a cigar. Anthony Smoke Emporium. This thing engine brakes so well, I have to remember to throw up a little bit of rear light when I'm doing that, especially for someone who's turning in front of me, to go ahead and give some rear brake just to flash that light, because the person behind me may not know that I'm slowing down. There they go. Mileage on this little bike is insane. It's insane. It gets right around, even in the city, mind you, the stop and go traffic. It gets right around 70 miles to the gallon. It's just amazing. This thing will run on the memory of fuel. It definitely will. So, those of us that ride Royal Enfields, we like to say it's always good to have a backup bike. Preferably another Enfield, but a Honda will do. Again, you know, I actually haven't had that many malfunctions with my Royal Enfield. Only malfunction that I've had to repair that wasn't brought on by me tinkering with it in the first place, and it was the alternator. But guess what? It still didn't leave me stranded. Still didn't leave me stranded. I could kickstart it, and as long as there was enough juice left in the battery, I could still ride it to work. How about that one? So just put it on the maintainer at night while I was waiting for that alternator to come in. Put it on the battery charger at night. And take it off in the morning. And that battery had enough juice along with the weak alternator to get me to work and back. Oh, here we go. Alright, thank you folks. I'll catch you again. These GoPro cameras, a lot of times they'll make things seem like they're further away than they are. So